What's up, YouTube? On this episode of Coddiwomple Overland, we're going to be finishing the Smokey Mountain 1000. Day one of the adventure, we left Kentucky and made our way to Cleveland, Tennessee. This is where we will meet Mike and Lora to finish our adventure on the Smokey Mountain 1000. The plan was to pick up where we left off just outside of Cleveland and make our way all the way up to Interstate 40 over the next 4 days. It didn't take us long at all to get back into the Cherokee National Forest near Parksville Lake, where we had left off in November. This is where our new adventure would begin. The plan was to make the 400-mile adventure over the course of 4 days and 4 nights. The sunny skies quickly turned to gray, started giving us a little rain. We knew this was coming. We knew it wasn't going to last real long. We all decided as a group to drive through the rain, and then even if it was dark, we would set up camp for the night in the dark. While the rain wasn't real hard at this point, it was still cold enough outside. If you got wet, you'd be pretty miserable. By this point, we had put some miles on and we were starting to get close to the Ocoee River. The TVA uses this awesome river to generate hydroelectric power. They channel it from way up there.
I took a picture of the tube.
And they run it through turbines. It's one of the TVA hydroelectric plants. This is also the location where the kayaking events for the 1996 Summer Olympics were held. As it started to get darker, the rain started to pick up in pace. We were off-road at this point and enjoying the trip, but we were noticing a lot of downed trees in this area and knew that this was not going to be a good place to camp. We had to move a little farther. There were dead and downed trees everywhere here. There were places that people had cut their way through where trees had fallen. This particular area, we had to cut off a small section so we could get our Jeep under it. We're not sure if it was beetles or a fungus or what, but there had been something that sure killed a lot of trees in that area. As we continued deeper on into the Cherokee National Forest, we kept looking for a good place to camp and trying to wait out the rain. We checked several spur roads and just wasn't having any luck finding a suitable campsite. By this time it was dark and the rain was starting to pick up. While it was not the awesome primitive site that we were looking for, we did find a National Forest Service campground that was empty, and we decided to stay there for the night, have a late dinner, and take off on to bed. The next morning we woke up to cool temperatures, but the rain was gone luckily. This was the Lost Creek campground. It was actually really nice and had a cool stream running right beside it. This National Forest Service campground was really nice. It was one of the primitive ones. It had a vault toilet, picnic tables, camping pads. While it wasn't the awesome dispersed site that we were looking for, it certainly worked out for us last night. That morning we didn't get into a real big hurry. We just milled around the campground there, kind of exploring. Of course, we had to have some coffee, and Deb made some incredible homemade apple fritters for breakfast. Between the OVS awning and walls and Alan and Nancy's new propane fire pit, we were able to keep warm this morning while we were having our breakfast. After breakfast, we packed up and headed out. It was time to see what this day would bring us. It was getting to be around noon, and we would be crossing our next major waterway. This is the Hiwassee River, and it's famous for whitewater rafting here in East Tennessee. This particular area here is Reliance, Tennessee. It seems to be really rich in river history and a home for whitewater rafting. Just outside of Reliance, we found ourselves back off the pavement. So far throughout this trip, we haven't seen anything difficult at all. Any type of vehicle could virtually do what we've done so far. The scenery was pretty nice though, and it was getting even better as we went. As we crested the top of this mountain, we could see off in the distance Whitecap Mountains. We knew that we wanted to find a way to get to where they were at and check them out. It was getting early afternoon. The Whitecap Mountains was going to have to wait a little bit. We found a spot for lunch. After a great lunch, it was time to make our way on Conestoga Creek. There are several creek crossings along this stretch of trail. Some of them are a little deeper than others. This was the deepest creek crossing that we went through, and probably wouldn't be that bad in the summer, but I could see it being a little bit deep in the spring or after a heavy rain. We finally made it to the last creek crossing on this trail. I knew a little bit about it because I'd done a little bit of research on these trails. As long as you stay to the left there, you're going to be just fine. There are some rock ridges just to the passenger side. As you'll see here, Mike hit him and bounced him around a little bit. I guess I should have let everybody in on my research. Next, we were back on Blacktop and finding our way closer and closer to the Whitecap Mountains. Deb and I have been looking at Guide GPS, and we have found a route that would get us to the top of the mountain where the radio tower was here to the left.
Well, if we quit moving all over the damn place. There's something through here.
We found our way to Gravel Forest Service Road, and we were getting closer and closer to the top of the mountains. As we got closer to the freeze line, we realized this wasn't snow. It was in fact frozen fog. It was something not many people get to see, but it was like going into a different world. After that incredible experience, it was time to head off the mountain and start looking for camp. We had thought about staying on top of the mountain, but it was way too windy and way too cold to stay up there. We felt like we had better get down in one of the valleys where we were a little more protected. We wanted to try to be set up just a little bit earlier than we were the night before. The problem was we kept running into signs like these. Some places you just can't camp where you want to. You have to camp where they want you to. So we continued on in hopes to find a secluded, designated campsite. We finally made it to camp right at the edge of dark. We got everything set up, and Deb fixed an amazing homemade stuffed pepper soup. We sat around the fire enjoying a nice hot meal, and Alan even went for seconds. We hope you've enjoyed part 1 of this adventure. Stay tuned, part 2 will be coming out soon. Thanks again for watching Coddiwomple Overland. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, see ya.